Welcome. This video is provided by the HighBallRun8.com community, is on the Lone Pine branch, which was developed and released just recently by the Run8 Studios. You can find more information from their website. Today I'm going to show you a tool that can be used while running traffic north and south on the Lone Pine branch. First thing you need to do is find it. So you need to log into the HighBallRun8.com website, as it is shown here. And once you log in by hitting the login, you will be presented with this screen. And once you see that screen, you can click on the Barstow information board. Now the reason why you need to click on that is that this sheet, Google Sheet, that deals with the Lone Pine branch is a tab on the Barstow information board. So you bring it up, click on the tab, and you will be presented with this. And what you are looking at is a product developed for the benefit of the users of the Lone Pine branch. Now, those of you that have been running this are well aware of the fact that from Tunnel 29, which is at the north end of the branch, but south of Cyril, all the way back to Main 2, the Mojave Yard, it's pretty much single track, and there's only two sidings, the Chaffee siding and the Cantil siding. And that presents a problem. And the problem that you're going to be facing is if you have multiple trains on a single track with two sidings in limited size, you're going to have a nose-to-nose potential situation, and the only remedy to that is to back one train up, and that's not going to be very favorable to a person who's already run 35-40 miles and has to realize that he's going to have to back up. So to alleviate that, making known where the trains are on the branch will greatly facilitate and help the users in preventing a Mexican standoff, nose to nose. So here's the sheet that will hopefully, if used properly, alleviate that problem. And this is how you're going to use it. First things first. On this sheet, you will show a train ID of the train that you're running, and also your engineer number, or correction, engineer name, and the time that you entered the branch. So I have two names already pre-populated for the for the purposes of this demonstration, and that is the LOP82, which is a local that runs up and down this branch, and I've named one here arbitrarily. It's a random name, doesn't mean anything. So we'll use the LOP82. But prior to populating that window, I want you to come over here to the left side, and you'll note that there's a red checkbox and a blue checkbox. And you can check that red checkbox, or you can check the blue one. You can check both of them, and nothing happens. So what do these checkboxes do? Well, they don't do anything unless you fill out these blocks over here. And that prevents anybody coming in just arbitrarily clicking boxes to see what happens. Nothing happens unless they register on the sheet a train and their engineer name. So let's go ahead and put the LOP82 in there, and immediately LOP82 is populated for the red box. So this area, this section, is tied to the red boxes. The second section right here is tied to the blue box. Generally speaking, you probably won't have more than 2 trains on this track at any one time. If you have a third, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do for a resolution, but I'll have to go back and review that problem if it does indeed occur. So we've populated LOP82. Now let's go ahead and I'll put in my name, Airedale, for those of you that know me. And after I do that, I'm entering this system, so I want to give a time that I entered. The best way to do that is to hit Control, left Shift, and the colon sign all at the same time, and it populates that window with a time. Now, let's say that we're down at Mojave. I'm already into the system. I'm in Mojave, and let me show you what Mojave is going to be looking like here. As you can see, this is the Mojave yard. Let's pan around. We got to find this branch. Well, the branch is at the northeast corner of the Mojave yard. Now we are looking to the north. This track, the main line 1 and 2 run north-south through Mojave, and the yard itself is on the west side of the north-south line, main 1 and main 2. The right track is 2, the left track is main 1. So where is the branch? Lone Pine Branch, which is just past this bridge. You can see it peeling off to the right as it heads to the northeast. And that is the Lone Pine Branch. And it runs 50 plus miles. And you certainly don't want to get up to 25, 30, 40 miles out there and run head to head with another train. So that brings us back to the spreadsheet, and we're down at the Mojave yard, and we're going to enter the branch line. Well, we've already put in our train number. We're going to run the local LOP82, and we want everybody to know that we're here and that we're running. So now that we're registered, all we have to do is click on that, and it shows that this segment, a block, is populated by the LOP82. Now, in the real world, blocks are based upon certain distances or geographical reference points, but they all have mile markers and or signals to tell the engineer that what is going on in the next block, and to tell him what instructions to execute, depending on if there's another train in front of him. Well, when you populate this first block, it's going to show that the LOP82 has the warrant, the track warrant, to run this section of track at will. For the purposes, I'd like to try to make this as prototypical as possible, but I don't have the ability to program a true-to-life dispatch screen. There are no lights. This is dark track. This is a dark siding as far as Run 8 is concerned. And for those of you that are brand new to Run 8, the term dark siding indicates that we have a section of track that is within the system and a train can run on it, but the dispatch screen does not show it. You do not know that a train is even there on the dispatch screen. That's the reason why it's called a dark track. So there's no control. In this particular case, we do know that milepost 380.1 is where the branch begins at the northeast corner of the Mojave yard, and there is a highway, California City Boulevard, at milepost 386.6. Now, for those of you that have run this, there's really not that much out there. There's no geographical details that you can rely on other than the milepost markers that are along the track, and they're very small and difficult to see at times, and it's very easy to miss them. So what I've done is I've created blocks based upon the highways that cross the road, or the railroad. And generally speaking, in this case, mile marker 380 to 386, this is a 6-mile block, which is a very reasonable block to run in. The next block will be 392, so that again is another 6 miles. And then 97, that's 5 miles as we go up. And it's going to take you all the way up to tunnel 29. And that's where I stop this graphic, the simulation if you want to call it. Everything north of tunnel 29 is dark track, so to speak, or dark siding. So let's go back down to Chaffee. Now, I have authority to run the branch line between Mojave Yard and the California City Boulevard. Nobody else should enter this block knowing that I'm here. Now, somebody else could enter the block and place a train or a consist, a portion of their train or the entire train in the Chaffee siding. And the way you can demonstrate that, let's go back up here and create a second train, and we'll call it David as the engineer. And he came in just a few minutes ago. That's left shift control semicolon, or correction, colon, and it gives the time. So David now knows that I'm here, and I came in at 3:43 p.m. about 6 minutes ago. So he knows I'm here. He comes down and he sees that, gosh, I'm in the first section. Well, by the time he comes in, he may have a train behind me. I will have left the Chaffee block, and I will have moved into the next one north because I'm headed in that direction, and I will turn that off, freeing that up. As you can see, this is a manual dispatch screen, essentially. Now he's going to come into the system, and he's going to click on his blue block, indicating that he now has the track warrant to run this block. But his intention is he's going to put his train into the siding. And the way you show this, obviously he's got control of the branch line. When he gets into the siding, all he has to do, see this block here, and there's a checkbox here. All checkboxes on the north end of the box belong to LOP 82. All the checkboxes on the south end of the block belong to the BKSR 11. So David brings his train in, he puts it into the siding, clicks the appropriate check mark, he occupies the siding. Of course, he's in the siding, he's not on the main, so he should release the main. Now, if I, for whatever reason, let's say I'm coming south, I can now enter this block, turn that one off, and I can bypass the siding and come out to the main. So there shouldn't be any head-to-head issues as long as the users recognize that they can manage their own traffic by utilizing this spreadsheet as a tool. And as you move north, you can protect yourself all the way to wherever you're going to go. In this case, let's say he comes in and he's going to do a crew change. Of course, there's not going to be a crew change out here in Cantil, but I need to stop the train, so I'm going to come into the siding, and I'm going to then release the main line so that anybody coming south or north can bypass me. When it's time for me to leave, I just go ahead and take the main or the branch, release the siding, and I can continue to move through the system, and everybody that is on this branch line can view this screen and determine where the traffic is as we move through the system. And then eventually get into the tunnel 29. If I'm on my way up to Cyril, then I can go ahead and release that. And once I'm northeast of tunnel 29, nobody will know where I'm at. So that is a basic overview of what is happening here. If someone were to come in and click on that, this obviously you can tell who I'm at, but each block will be labeled the LOP82 and it's Airedale here, so you don't have to keep scrolling back and forth. As you can see, if you check the blue one, David's information and train ID is displayed. Now, at the conclusion of your session, I highly recommend that you come back in. If, in my case, I went north of tunnel 29, I've gone off the map, so to speak. I'm up in Cyril. I can go ahead and hit delete, select my my block, LOP82, hit delete, and I can erase my name and the train ID and, of course, the time that I entered. And now this is available for anybody else. One other item, we have a grade chart for some of the engineers who have an interest in what it's going to take to move a train along the branch line, and there is some elevation along the branch line, and this chart shows you where it's located. Starts down at Mojave, Chaffee, and goes all the way up to Cyril's. Then we have the rules. These are taken from the Union Pacific. You can review them. It has a lot of information, and if you want to operate in a very prototypical manner, then I would highly suggest that you do so by the rules. And that, gentlemen, is essentially an overview of the Lone Pine Branch / Trona Railroad control that HighBall Run8.com has come up with to help those of you who want to run trains up and down the branch line so that you don't get out 25-30 miles and have a nose-to-nose situation. Hope this has helped you, and thank you for listening.